Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Ladies and gentlemen, every now and then an artist comes along whose story is as powerful as the songs they sing. Caroline Parke is one of those rare voices. Born and raised in the wide open skies of Alberta, Caroline now calls a ranch near Lloydminster home, where she and her husband are raising 4 children. Her music is deeply rooted in its simplicity and the beauty of the rural life, the kind that teaches hard work, faith, and community, and you can hear it in every note she sings. But Caroline's journey into songwriting wasn't something she planned. In 2019, following a traumatic home invasion, she turned to music, not for fame or recognition, but for healing. What began as a deeply personal outlet soon blossomed into a calling, one that gave us songs of resilience, honesty, and hope. From her early cover album to her first original release in 2020, Caroline has grown into a storyteller whose lyrics captivate both the everyday rhythms of ranch life and the universal emotions we all share. The authenticity has not gone unnoticed. Her album, Pause and Pine, earned her a nomination for Album of the Year at the Josie Music Awards. And in 2024, she was named International Female Songwriter of the Year by the International Singer-Songwriters Association, a testament to the way her words and melodies resonate far beyond the prairies. Join me as we get to welcome not just a singer and songwriter, but a voice of strength, truth, and connection. Someone who reminds us that even though through hardship, beauty can still rise. Please join me in welcoming to the show, Caroline Parke. Caroline, thank you so much for your time and welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Chris.
I want to go back in time a little bit here with you. What were you doing before the jump start and push into music?
I was um, I was actually deep into learning violin. So I don't know if you've ever heard a beginner try to learn violin, but it's always pretty bad. So I would say that I was just coping with raising kids. So I had 4 kids in 5 years, and so my kids were ages 1, 3, 5, and 6.
Well,
And so I had picked up the violin when my little guy, the number 3, when he was 8 months old. So I had been playing violin for about 3 years, but in that time I had had a baby, and I was just finding it really hard to have toddlers in the house and like multiple toddlers and uh, all the demands of motherhood. And so I had picked up the violin as just kind of something different to use my brain differently to find some joy. Sometimes I would line up all the kids in the bathtub and I'd sit in the bathroom with them and just play Twinkle Twinkle, and they would all like think I was amazing, right? And it would just give me a beautiful moment among the chaos, knowing that the living room's a mess, the kitchen's a mess. I don't really have supper planned, but I'll figure something out. And I really got to do laundry because we don't have enough socks. But I'd have like 5 minutes where there was beauty, right? Where the kids can appreciate music. I could get some feedback from them, and I was learning something and using my brain in a different way other than just diapering, right? Because when you're in the throes of it, it just kind of all of it together feels like unfulfilling in a way, right? I didn't have the long game in mind. I was literally just trying to raise my kids.
no, it's the day-to-day autonomy of, okay, there's the cereal, there's the show, there's the interactive craft or maybe a show, and then get to the next moment and please someone come and give me a break.
Yeah, I was really in survival mode when the attack had happened, and I hadn't really played guitar because I went to an old timers jam, and I would go there with my 3 or 4 children, a picnic bag, a big picnic blanket, then I'd have my guitar, then I'd have my binder, and I'd have all this stuff, and I just was like, I am too tired for this. And so then I looked around and I thought, oh, there's like 14 guitars. Why do they need another guitar? So then I was like, there was only 1 or 2 fiddlers, and I thought, oh, the fiddle is so small, and they don't bring books because they just memorize everything. And so I just thought, oh, I should try that. And my grandpa gave me his backup fiddle, and so that's kind of where I was at in life at that time. Yeah.
So when you originally picked up that violin playing Twinkle Twinkle for your children, why the violin? Why not the harmonica or the washboard spoons?
I think there's like a mystery to the violin that intrigued me because it was something that's ever unattainable. I had violin, or I have harmonicas. I have a mouth organ. I think it was just like the size of it and the beauty of it, and how you always want another fiddle in the band. And a lot of my music, actually, some of the music in my youth that I listened to, my kids are now listening to my old CDs, and I'll walk by and hear something. I'm like, well, no wonder I ended up playing violin. Like they're really heavy folk kind of stuff. I don't know if you ever heard of Elephant Revival,
Mhm.
but I listened to them back in like 2008, 2009 when I was like a young maiden in the workforce, and uh, I was traveling lots and living my life and everything. And I used to listen to them and a few others that I just feel like now it's like it was inevitable that I would have an ear for that.
So when you were joining these old time nights, is what you referred to it, and then you said your grandfather gave you a fiddle. Was this just jamming with your aunts and uncles and your grandpa's band?
You know what? Like I married into a family farm here in north of Lloydminster, and there's an old timers jam about 30 minutes east into Saskatchewan. And so, no, it was just a bunch of literally old folks from the countryside. So most of them are all retired, and then there's the group that play, and there's like maybe 15 people that play in a circle, and then there's the group that comes to listen, and they're also old folks, and they listen and they dance too. And then there was a family that would come with a team of horses, and they would do wagon rides. So my kids, I could farm two or three of them out at a time, depending on how old they were. And then sometimes my parents, they live 9 hours away, but they would come for a week. And so I'd say, well, let's go to the jam. And then, Mom, you can hold the baby while I try and play a song or something, right? Yeah.
That's a really great sense of community, and it's local, where you're able just to go down the road there and start jamming and get the practice in and play. It's really cool.
Yeah, it was really nice. And actually, when I started on guitar, it was a few years earlier. And that was when I went down to my parents' place to visit them and my grandparents. And I went to my grandpa's jam, and again it was a bunch of old men, and you sit in a circle, and I would just sit across from this man that I had a little old man crush on, and he would let me copy him, and that's how I learned guitar, is sitting in an old time circle, and it was just wonderful. And they pass the mic around, and you can pass if you're not comfortable,
Mhm.
or I would just always go for it and do like a basic, like "You Are My Sunshine." It's like a easy song with easy chord progression, and everybody enjoys that, especially like the old folks. They love that kind of stuff. So yeah.
That's really great. And I wish there was more of that around, but that sounds really cool. It's just,
Oh,
a great moment to be a part of. Uh, but I want to go back to that night because, this sparked this journey for you. And I hate to bring up the traumatics of it, but you've
yeah.
shared before that your music journey was sparked by the traumatic home invasion. Are
Yeah,
you able to take us back to that night?
absolutely. Yeah, I've done a bit of trauma treatment, and I don't feel like I used to. The first year and a half, when I talked about it, my hands would go numb. Like I had like a trauma response. I had classic PTSD, but not anymore. So I've really processed it, and part of it I think is just talking about it a little bit, writing about it, and it's really been a wonderful thing. I did have a talk therapist, and she said what I was doing with music was more valuable than any other therapy I
Oh,
could do. So that was really encouraging. But the night of, we got a call at 2:30 in the morning that there were people in my sister-in-law's yard, and they asked if my husband could drive over there. They called the police, and they said it would be a while because of how rural we are. So they said, well, can you kind of just drive through the yard, maybe figure out how many people there are, because there are people banging on windows and people in the yard, and maybe scare them away. And so my husband did that, and I just stood in the kitchen and I watched his taillights go down the driveway. And he wasn't gone a few 10 minutes, and then I looked up from my phone. I was uploading a YouTube video of myself playing fiddle on stage with someone, and I looked up from my phone, and there was someone sitting in my husband's feed truck, and they had a ball cap on, and I thought, oh no. And so I called my husband and said, hey, they're in our yard now. and he had patched me in on a three-way call with my
Mm.
father-in-law. And so he said, well, I'm too far away. And Grandpa said, I'm not, I'll be right there. And he zipped up the driveway really fast. And and he cleared the yard. He walked through the yard and said, it's all clear. And I went out on the deck and talked to him. And then we saw a car going really slow by these bushes. And so we thought that might be the getaway car. What they do is they drop off a passel of thieves, and they go out on foot and grab things like weed whackers or whatever they feel like stealing. And then they all jump back in the vehicle like 10 minutes later. It'll circle around, right? So anyhow, Grandpa hopped in his truck and headed down to see about this getaway car, and I stood on the deck like an idiot, and I didn't go back in the house like I should have. And then this lady came up. I had a flashlight, and she came up the stairs, and all I remember is she's just floating up at me and came down with a knife like this. And I was like, whoa. And so I had to fight her off with my flashlight. And I had just called 911 when his taillights were going down the driveway. I thought I'll call it in to let them know it's multiple yards.
Yeah.
So I called 911 and I heard them say, what is your emergency? And then the next thing I knew, I dropped my cell phone. I got my flashlight in my non-dominant hand, and I'm kind of like, whoa. And she tried to stab me in the face like 10 times, knocked me down on the deck, and then ran in the house. And I thought, if I have to call my husband and tell him that there's a drug user in our house with our children, I am going to be fired for sure. And but I knew all during the month of August, I had been telling my husband that door doesn't close well. The bottom hinge was broken, and so it was misaligned, and you had to like lift up on it just a certain way to get the
Mm.
deadbolt. So I knew the deadbolt didn't work. So I thought, she's in the house. She's gonna try and lock me out. And I just got up and I was like, Mama Bear. And I just shouldered the door open, and then we fought in the porch, knife and flashlight. And eventually, being a good Alberta girl, and my husband's a big Oilers fan, I jerseyed her. So I pulled the back of her shirt over her head, and then I just beat her. And I remember saying out loud, head, neck, spine, head, neck, spine, until she dropped her knife and surrendered. And she had some choice words for me, and I had choice words for her.
And
So,
do you
and
have,
then, mhm.
no, sorry, continue.
Well, so then she's like, well, that's not how it's supposed to go down. And I said, well, how was it supposed to go down? Like, and she's on the ground in my porch. Her bra's not working, so she's trying to fix herself up. I turn my back to her. I go through the closet and find the ugliest hoodie I could find, the zip up hoodie of my husband's, and I sit down on the ground and I put my arm around her and put the coat on her. And then I helped her up to sit on the bench, and I was holding her. And then I thought, that's weird. Maybe I shouldn't do that. So then I stepped back and I leaned against the wall, and I noticed that the closet doors were hanging from the hinges. Like we had had a bit of a rustling in the porch there. And so then I start coaching her, and I'm like, you're doing bad things, but you can change anytime, and like you're not the first person to deal with alcohol. I can tell that you have a problem with alcohol, and you can overcome this. And then my husband walked in, and he's like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" And he didn't notice that the doors were hanging off the hinges. I had blood hanging down my lip. I saw later, and it was quite interesting. So then we went out on the deck, and he said, "No, honey, I'll stay on the deck with her. You go in the house." And I was like, "Okay." And I was so confused. I was obviously in shock by that point. And then the next thing I know, oh, I brought her a glass of water. She asked for a glass of water. And I remember I had the logic to not bring her a glass, but to bring her plastic. And that turned out to be a really pivotal moment, because during the trial, when she was sentenced, the day she was sentenced, she said, "I'll never forget your kindness when you brought me that glass of water."
Odd
And I
for someone to say who's trying to stab you in the face.
yeah, kind of, I guess. I found it really interesting that that's what she remembered from that night.
And Do you ever feel like that you would not have found your way to music if this didn't happen, or was this just a larger push to get into it?
I don't know about that. You know, like before I had kids, I played guitar for, I'm gonna say 3 years, and I had written 2 songs. So there was an inkling there, but like now I've been doing an album a year. You know, like I've put out 7 original albums now, and yeah, I think that I needed some sort of event to trigger it, and it makes it a lot easier to get through hard events when you can blossom something beautiful out of them, right?
And where do you find these inspirations? Like you were playing songs before, then this happened. So, and you're releasing an album a year. Where do you find the inspirations for your song?
Well, like where don't I find the inspiration, right? Like I don't have the stresses of a concrete jungle that everyone else has. I live in the country. I have beautiful children and I spend all my days with them. We homeschool and I just like everywhere I look, there's just so much to be thankful for and grateful for. And it's not very often that I see ugly things, to be honest, because I don't really get out that much. So if you go online, all my photos, like 90% of them were taken on my farm. Uh, there's a couple that my friend took at her acreage in Western Alberta, but most of them are from here. So it's special to also showcase a little bit of our lives and our landscapes. I really like the last couple music videos that I've done. I thought, you know what, this isn't just about music. This is about like our family heritage I'm documenting, right? Like it's really neat.
And while you're on the ranch and the farm there, I mean, that life is different. It's demanding a different type of resilience. I mean, the animals don't wait. How has that discipline shaped how you handle the ups and downs of building a music career?
Yeah, I think that that resilience is really required because you have to have, like my husband tells me, like this radio station wouldn't advertise my event or something. He said, they owe you nothing. And so you should expect nothing and just be grateful for any little help up that you get throughout your journey. And that really is the farmer mentality that the world owes you nothing, and every single thing that you uh, cultivate in your life is something that you're doing yourself. We're not waiting for a handout from anybody. We're not asking for, like our society is very much rooted in a bit of socialism, right? And that's just not how farming works at all. Like you work for every piece of dust that you gather.
So when we talk about that, I mean, it's the day-to-day grit of ranching to get it done no matter what. It sounds like this has actually prepared you to be an artist in ways most musicians couldn't be or couldn't
You know what?
imagine.
That's like so insightful of you. That's so cool. I'm gonna hold on to this. This is really great. Maybe you're right because like I have no expectations of worldly success. Like you think what is success? And it's like, well, I meet some artists that you can tell they're doing it for a living and they need to make a certain amount of money and there's that little bit of pressure there. And my definition of success would be to keep creating and keep growing, progressing my sound, and meeting very heartfelt kindred spirits along the way. And actually showing my kids what it is to like live your dream. That's more my dream. I feel like I'm in the throes of success right now. I have a little bit of radio play. Do I make money at it? Well, absolutely not. But yeah, I feel like my sound is evolving, my skills are evolving, my kids are musical and they're watching me pursue a dream and I'm not dedicating my life to it. They know that there is a place for me to do those things, but my number one priority 7 days a week are my children. And I don't think I'm going to regret um, spending more time with them, especially while they're young, because one day they'll fly away like birds and I'll have all the time in the world. So I am trying to pursue music, but I'm not going 100% at it. I know where my priorities are. So.
You'd mentioned a lot there, and it's fantastic in the sense of, we're not doing this to make money, and you've met people that are, and that's where they need to be. Do
Mhm.
you think that as a creative and as a singer-songwriter that you might lose a bit of the creative edge or your voice by saying, hey, I need this next song to hit, otherwise I'm not going to pay the rent or pay the the private jet, versus, hey, it doesn't matter if that's a hit or not. This is just a fantastic, fun, joyous moment for me.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I have talked to people in Nashville, and one lady said like I could submit songs to her, um, but she didn't want me to have hard rhymes. She wanted me to have soft rhymes because it's more modern.
Hmm.
And I just thought like for the chance to have her be a what you do is you erect a song 95% of the way, and then you give it to this person who changes it this much, and then she gets a 50-50 songwriting credit.
Wow.
And then because that song is signed with her and she gets an artist to record it, she also gets 25% more. So then your cut goes down from 100 to 50 to 25. And then there's one other way that they take a piece of that pie again. And it's like, and on top of it, I didn't write the song I actually wanted to
Hmm.
write. And I thought, I'll just continue as an indie artist, thanks. Like I don't want to get published by someone else that bad.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's an exciting opportunity when you're making like 10% on something.
Yeah, and well, and the other thing is like if you have the bones of a really good song and then you compromise it stylistically or maybe the storyline a little bit to fit more of a broader brush of society
Hmm.
or something, and it's like, no, I'm really just doing this for me. Yeah, I really I've thought about writing for specific because I'm a good writer. I know that. I when I was a kid, I would listen to the radio and I could predict the next line.
Hmm.
And I think now looking back, I'm like, duh, I should have been a songwriter years ago. But anyhow, like I just feel like I know where my talents lie, and I could write for specific genres, but I just write for me right now. Maybe in the future I'll do that though.
So when you write for yourself, and if someone is discovering Caroline Park for the first time, what's the one song that you would say, you know what, this is the song you should start with? What would that be?
Oh boy. Um, hmm. Yeah, I have what I would call two categories of songs. I have like the heartfelt singer-songwriter songs, and then I have the Kiss method songs where it's like keep it simple, stupid. And
Hmm.
so if I had to pick one from each category, can I do that?
Yeah,
I would
absolutely.
say the Kiss method, I would say listen to Hello Little Bird. It's just a jingle that is just, I actually wrote it as a kid's song, but my producer's like, oh, it's way more than that. And then for singer-songwriter, like where do I start? But there's one called Memories and Guitar Picks, and it was written as a lament for a friend, a musical mentor of mine that passed away. But then in the studio, my producer's like, this should be celebratory. Let's
Mm.
double time it and turn it into a bluegrass song instead of a really slow, sad song. And I just feel like as an artist, you collaborate with your producer. And I picked this producer for this specific reason. And he was right. And I think at any time when he pitched that and he's like, let's change it, let's try this, I could have put the brakes on, you know, and I think that he's made me feel very comfortable enough to do that. But I felt like his instinct was like, oh, it should be celebratory. Like this guy lived an amazing life. And so, yeah, as far as like storytelling, singer-songwriter songs go, I really like Memories and Guitar Picks.
How do you know what song, when you write it, fits which genre? Do you say, hey, today I'm going to sit down and write bluegrass or folk or country and therefore, or do you just write out the lyrics and then say, you know what, that actually fits in heavy metal. That doesn't fix with fiddles.
Oh no, I do sometimes sit down and think I'm gonna write a bluegrass song, and then I don't know what even happens if it comes to pass. But I do know that all the songs that I write are what is it called? Uh, where it just randomly happens.
Hmm.
Like I'll just be sitting there, and I don't just write lyrics. I always write with the music. So I'll find a chord, you know, or two chords that go together, and then I'll just find words that sit on top of that really nice and have like you can feel it in your soul, you know, like it's like watching chocolate melt in a pan.
That's a great metaphor.
So, yeah.
And as you were saying, you're almost releasing a new album every year, if not releasing a new album every year.
Yeah.
What's the one coming out in 2026?
It is called, oh, it's right here. I actually released a hard copy. This is called All the Moving Parts. It's all about farming. And I released a single last month and the month before that, and I'm releasing another single next Friday. And then I'm gonna hold on to this because there's a winter single, and I'll probably release this in February. So
Now, if this one's being released in February, all about farming, and we look at the life now and you're surrounded by your beautiful children, wide open ranch, what does a typical day look for Caroline before you even pick up the guitar or notepad or fiddle?
well, sometimes I'll start with coffee and guitar and do 15, 20 minutes of that. And then I get all the kids up. We all eat ketogenic breakfast, bacon and eggs or bacon and sausage or whatever. And then we'll do homeschooling. We'll take a break from that and we'll do music practice. And I got two or three on the fiddle, one on the piano, and then the one that kind of does fiddle also does guitar. And I might participate in that either on guitar or fiddle, whichever. And then we'll take another, well, so after we're done a break of that, then we'll go back and do another session of school, and then we'll start preparing a lunch together.
Mhm.
We'll do lunch together. I'll call dad and ask if he's coming for lunch or if I have to deliver lunch into the field, depending, like right now we're still doing meals in the field right now. So that sucks. Can't wait till that's over. Actually, the song that I'm doing next Friday is called "Harvest is Long," and I wrote it
Mm.
last fall about how long it feels because when he's away, like planting season is intense, and you're doing meals in the field while he's planting for like 3 to 6 weeks, depending on if he's planting for neighbors or whatever. But harvest season feels like it's longer and longer because first you have to swath and then you have to bale, then you have to haul the bales, then you have to wrap the bales, and you're doing all this stuff and it just feels like it's endless. And then as soon as you have a field full of bales, you're like, yes. And then he's like, oh, now we have to do this. So like it's just the next, now we got to winterize everything, then we got to start mechanicking, then we got to order parts, and you got to go to town and go get these parts. So it's like it just goes on and on. But anyhow, yeah, we I try to be done school by noon. I do have one child that is more like of a gentle schooler, and so she just does a little here and a little there, and quite often we do a little bit as a bedtime quiet activity because it just otherwise won't get done because she's very slow.
And a question for you, when your kids look back on all the years from now, and it's kind of this, what do you hope that they'll remember the most? Their mom, the rancher who kept life steady and joyous, or their mom, a songwriter who turned life into music and followed a dream?
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to remember. Someone else asked me last week, what do your children think of you being a music person or something? And I was like, I don't even know. I haven't even asked them. But what I hope they remember is that we spent our days together and we got through hard days and we enjoyed the easy ones. I think that's,
Hmm,
yeah,
I like
I'd
that.
like to look back on their childhood and know that there's resilience and there's value in staying together no matter what.
And Caroline, where can people learn more about you? Where can they hear your music? Where can we stream it? Tell us.
Well, I'm on all the streaming platforms, and I have a YouTube channel that I put all my music videos out, and I also have other content from when I first started playing guitar when I was 24, and then when I first started playing violin. So I have over 300 videos, so you can really get to know me on my YouTube channel if you really cared. And then I also have my Caroline Parke Music .com, yeah, website. It's just really kind of some basic links and stuff. All of my albums that I have for sale, I have hard copy. And then some people don't have CD players, and I just feel like, you know what? These are actually worth getting, these CDs, just for the liner notes, because all of my hard copies have lyric books,
Hmm.
and it's just very personal. And I know that nowadays in our society music is being delivered differently, and I feel like there is a different appreciation for it that just doesn't go as deep as it used to. And I know whenever I go to music events I always get the CD autographed to my daughters, and or to my sons. And when I bring home a CD with their names on it, and they open it up, I know they're falling in love with this
Mhm.
bluegrass artist, in a way that kids nowadays that stream, they are not getting that experience. And so like every hard copy, anything is a real gift.
And Caroline, you've won awards and recognitions for your work, but
Right.
what's the thing about music that excites you the most? To pick up that pen and paper, to grab the fiddle and guitar. It's not going to be the plaque on the wall or the award on the shelf. What is it?
I really like creating something from nothing. And I remember the first couple songs I wrote on my first original album when I was going through that trauma treatment and I had PTSD, and I couldn't even go to town and go shopping. Like I didn't know. I had to call victim services lady to ask her what order should I do these stores so that I'm not driving back and forth. Like I couldn't think, right? And knowing that I'm like, there was no song here. And now, look, I wrote this song. I just sent it to my producer. I had a different producer back then. And 2 days later, he sent me a track back that I could practice singing to. And I just thought, it's magic. It's just a magical feeling to say that didn't exist 48 hours ago. And now you have a song, you have it complete. It feels right. It's in the right key for my vocal range. I'm going to record it 3 weeks from now. Like it's just a rush. And I've fallen in love with writing and playing, and then I've fallen in love with releasing and doing album cover photography, even the videography my sons are doing. Like my Henry, he had the camera and he's walking backwards, right, as I walk on the next music video that I'm releasing next Friday. And it was just like, it was really great to put my kids down as videographers, right, as contributors on this project. And like even this other album cover, oh no, the album cover for my single, my son took it. It was 2 years ago, but he was 7 years old. And I'm like, I'm gonna credit him with being the photographer, like, yeah. So
Amazing.
there's just magic everywhere, I feel like.
I love that pass down. They're gonna get up one day and say, "Look here, I got this whole resume of stuff that Mom's been documenting. This is fantastic."
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty great.
And Caroline, if you were making music or running the ranch, what do you think you'd be doing? If we picked you up and put you in the city and that's where you are now, what do you think you'd be doing?
In the city, I don't even know how I would survive because I stay at my aunt's house sometimes and they don't turn off the lights. You can pull the curtains closed, but there's still light coming through. I would die. I just feel like, and there's always traffic and there's always that buzz. And I don't even know what I would do. Like, if I had to homeschool in the city, I could possibly shoot myself. Like the only thing that I could really think of would be to like work for a florist or in a cafe maybe where I get to like visit with people,
Mhm.
but then I wouldn't be homeschooling. I'm not raising kids. So how do you raise kids in a city? I have no idea because my kids can just go on a bike ride and they can do a 1 kilometer loop.
Yeah.
And I know in the city that's probably not safe.
Well, not the greatest. Yeah.
So yeah, no, sometimes I feel like I miss the city or the town and like the socializing, but then I think I'm really more countrified than I think than I realize, right?
No, of course.
Yeah.
And Caroline, if someone gave you a magic wand and said you could give one thing to the world or change one thing about the world tomorrow, what do you think that would be?
Oh, I feel like everyone should turn around and look into the past and be grateful for where we're at as a
Oh,
society today. I think that our dispositions would be vastly different if we could do that. I have a song all about it called Gratitude.
hmm.
Check it out.
And Caroline, what do you think is something that people tend to misunderstand about you the most?
Oh, I have no radar for that at all. Like I'm just not self-conscious, and I don't really pick up on people like uh how they analyze. I have no idea.
Okay. And out of all of the interviews, the shows, the stage, the glitz and glamour, what's something that no one's ever asked you that you kind of wish they did? Where, hey, I've never been asked that, and I don't know why no one's asked me.
Oh gosh. I've never thought about that at all. I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. And I have time for one last question for you on Coffee with Chris. Here's what makes Caroline Parke smile?
Oh, probably color. Yeah, a good sunrise or a good sunset. Yeah, this twinkle in someone's eye.
No, I love that. And that was the last question I had for you today on Coffee with Chris. And thank you so much for being here. Everyone out there, get to the internet, research as much as you can, download the songs, buy the CD, even better. I'm sure she'll sign it and ship it to you, no problem. Caroline
Yeah.
Parke's been our fantastic guest. Remember to smile to inspire everybody and have yourselves a fantastic day. Thank you so much, Caroline, for everything.
Thanks for having me.